Hi everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be showing you all a detailed process on how to go about the making and the drafting of a bustier sweetheart neckline top which has a back waistline and puff sleeve. So there's this trick that you have been missing out, which is the reason behind your bustier not standing. This is all I shared with you all in today's tutorial. If you're a beginner, endeavor not to skip this tutorial. If you're an intermediate, in fact whichever class you are, endeavor not to skip this tutorial because I'll be revealing to you all what you have been doing wrong, which I have finally decided to correct in today's tutorial. So with that much being said, let's get started, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. For the recreation of this particular blouse, you need to draft out a half scale basic bodice and include the length of your top. So right now, from my shoulder down here, I have my chest line, which I'm labeling CL. From that shoulder, which is that top line, I have my bust point of 10 inches. From the shoulder, which is also that blue line down, I have my under bust of 13 inches. From that same shoulder, I have my half length of 16 inches. Then my top length of 20 inches. As you can see, I've measured out everything right here. So you can see from below that 20 inches, I have extra inches left that I even had to add paper. You can see it at that point. So that is for the back's waistline. So when after marking your top length, ensure you have at least 4 inches space at the lower part of your pattern paper or your top length. So the next thing I went ahead to do is to divide my nipple to nipple points by 2. What I have there is 3.5 inches, and I'm making this point on all of these lines, which is my nipple to nipple points divided by 2. Then I'll move over to the upper part. You know, I'm yet to mark my neckline, right? So my neckline is 3 inches wide. If you want to get your neck width, divide your bust circumference by 12. Whatever you have is your neckline. So my neckline divided by my bust circumference divided by 12 is 3 inches. I'm just going to be marking 3 inches right there, and I'll just connect this into a round neckline. This neckline is not really needed, okay? Now what I want to do here is that on my shoulder, that's from that point to that point where my neckline stops, I'll be getting the middle or the half of it, which I'll be making a point right there. So I'll be connecting this now into this my nipple to nipple point line. So this is where most of us get it wrong. We don't always do this. Remember that when you do this line is not straight. It's going to be a bit slanty, and it plays a major role in the outcome of our bustier. So from the chest line now, I'm going up by 2 inches because I don't really want to show so much cleavage. You can go up by 1 inch or 1.5 inches depending on what you want. So from that 2 inches I went up by now is going to be my new neckline. Then from this part up will not be needed again. That's the part I shaded using my red pen. So the next thing now is to tighten the underbust. At both sides on my underbust, which is this line labeled UB, I simply went on ahead to mark 1 inch away from both sides of my dart leg. So if you're on a bigger bust size, I would encourage you to go away by at least 1.5 inches at both sides. I went ahead now to cross check this to ensure that this is 1 inch all the way to the very end of my top length. After that, now from my bust point line on still under my dart leg, I connected this way using this part of my ruler in a curvy way into my underbust. I believe that everything I'm doing right here is very clear to us all. Now the next one is our overbust tightening. Okay, that's the next thing I'm going to do. We're going to be doing our overbust tightening. From that top part, which I already mentioned will be my new neckline, or my shoulder, let's just say shoulder, I marked 3/4 of an inch away from there at both sides of that my darts leg. Then I'm going to be placing my ruler this way and reconnecting this into the bust point line. Make sure it's on the bust point line, exactly on that point. So you can see how nice this is looking already. So I'll be measuring out the that's here I've created from that point to my bust point. For that other point, I had 4.1 inches. So this other part, when I measured it, it was not up to 4.1 inches. Then I went up by zero point 0.1 inch. Then I reconnected it. So at this point now, these two dart legs are of the same length, and that is also where most of us miss out on this. So the next thing I'll be doing is to be creating my sweetheart neckline. So I want this to be a little bit deep, okay? So because of that, I came down by just half of an inch from my chest line. Then from this top part of this my dart, I'll firstly use my pencil to create my sweetheart neckline. See the way I'm placing my ruler from that leg all the way to this half of an inch I marked below my chest line. So this is what I have and I was okay with it. Now I'll be using my pen to highlight this to be very visible. So the next is to measure the P to P, that's from armpit to armpit, or you can say the across chest. Okay, while I'm drafting corset, I call it my across chest. So mine is 14 inches and I'll divide it into two. So when I divide it into two, I have 7 inches. Now I'll measure what I have from the beginning part of my paper all the way to this point where I started creating my dart, and what I have is 3.5 inches. Now from this other dart, I'll measure it up to my armhole, and what I have right there is 2.2 inches. So when I add these two figures together, what I'll be having is 5 inches and 3/4. And remember I said that my pit to pit or my armpit to armpit is 7 inches. This means that I'm short of 1 inch and quarter. So we'll do this again together. I have 5 inches and 3/4, which is right there. You can see it right there. So from that point now to 7 inches, I'm short of 1 inch and quarter. So I need to add this 1 inch and quarter to complete my armpit to armpit 7 inches, because it's very necessary. So what do I do? From that my armhole, I'm just going to be adding that 1 inch and quarter. This is very necessary. This is another trick and another way you get it wrong while drafting your bustier. Okay, so when I did that, now I'll be connecting my armhole. Okay, so now this is the armhole I'll be working with and not the first one again, because after cutting out these darts and joining, I still need my actual pit to pit or my armhole to my armhole. So that is it for the overbust tightening. So the next, I divided my waist circumference by 4 and I marked what I have right there on my half length, which is the line labeled hedgel. So where my top length or my blouse will be stopping, I measured the circumference of that part, and when I divided it by 4, I have 9 inches. So from my chest line now, I'll be connecting all these points together. But before that, I'll be replacing this my dart of 2 inches only on my half length and on my top length. Remember, the underbust is always tightened, so we don't replace the dart on the underbust. So when I was done replacing my dart, I went on ahead to firstly connect my actual body measurement from my chest line to my half length, then to my top length. Then I will now go on ahead to now connect my dart intake. Watch what I'm doing. From the underbust here, I reconnected my dart into my half length, then into my top length. Then I'll be adding 1.5 inches, which is going to be my sewing allowance. Always try to reconnect or replace your dart exactly the way I've done it right here. This is going to give you a very perfect fit that will not really need you to go on ahead and start shaping. Okay, this will be your exact size. So I also added my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches all the way to my top length, and I'm using my ruler now to connect all these points together. So that is it. You can see how nice this is looking. Then the next one is to get our Basque effect, but before that, I'll just simply go on ahead to cut this out from that top part. Okay, from that my new neckline or my new neck depth. Then the sleeve, the armhole, sorry. Then I'll just cut this straight down, because I want to open up my dart to actually get my Basque waistline. I'm using my marker now to highlight all these parts which is needed. Okay, so I'll be cutting off all these shaded parts. As you can see, I'm cutting out my sweetheart neckline. The next part will be for my dart leg. So my dart leg, I'll be splitting it from the middle, as you can see I've done right. And now folding my darts. So this part of my center front I'm folding, I'll make sure that it aligns with the other dart leg at the side front. Okay, then I'll pin this, but you can also use your masking tape or a cello tape to do this, but make sure that it aligns. So at some point I had to just remove that extra paper I pinned to this body part of my top. Okay, so what I have left there for my backs is 3.5 inches. I don't want my backs effect to be too long at all. Okay, so now from that, my actual, pay attention, from the actual body size, not from the dart or from the allowance, from my actual measurements. Okay, from there I'll connect this way, placing my ruler to slanting at the bottom edge of my paper. Okay, so when I did this, I realized that we had to come down by half an inch from that point. So right now I came down by half of an inch, and because of this I'll be reconnecting this as well. From that point now I came down by half of an inch. All right, so you can see that that half an inch did not extend into my actual body measurements. It stopped right there, and I reconnected this back into this line to form my back's waistline. And that is how you achieve your Basque waistline. I'll be removing these pins I have right here now to cut off entirely these darts which I have right here. So I'll cut this out just as I stated earlier, that all the shaded parts will be cut off. Pay proper attention to the parts that I'm cutting off so that you don't make mistakes while cutting yours as well. So now I'm done with cutting off the darts. I'll now go on ahead to the bust area. So you see at this point they now align perfectly. So I'll go on ahead to cut out the bust area as well, following the shape or the way it is. So I'll label this smaller part my center front, because the center front is always the smaller part and the bigger part is always the side front. I'll move on ahead to draft that for the back part of my top. So from the edge of my paper I'm marking 1 inch, which is for my zipper allowance. I'll also label it right there. So for this back part I will just be subtracting the neck depth from my vertical measurement. From my chest line for the front part I went up by 2 inches, meaning that our neck depth is 6 inches. So I subtracted 6 inches now to get my 8 inches chest line. I got my half length, my top length. The under bust and bust point is not really necessary to mark at this point. Okay, so remember I said 8 inches. If you go up by 2 inches, our neck depth is 6 inches. That was why I subtracted 6 inches for the back part. So I made all these points and I connected them into a straight line, as you can see right here. So as stated earlier, my pit to pit is 7 inches. So that top first line there is my shoulder line. I will now be marking that 7 inches right here. All those tightening and overwash tightening is not needed for the back part. Then on that second line, which is my chest line, I'm labeling it right there. I'll be dividing my bust circumference by 4, and the quarter of my bust circumference is what I marked right there. Then from that, my shoulder, I'll connect this into my chest line, which is the quarter of my bust circumference. On my waistline, I'll get the quarter of my waist circumference. On my top length, I'll get this quarter of the circumference of where my top will stop, and I'll connect all these points together. So when I'm done, I'll be getting my nipple to nipple point, which is 3.5 inches. Please note that these markings are starting from my zipper allowance line and not from the edge of my paper. So when I got this, I marked this into a straight line. On both sides of my dart leg, I marked half of an inch away from there. Now I'm connecting this into a straight line. So this particular dart, you can make it touch your shoulder line. So that dart of 1 inch, because at both sides, if you measure half of an inch at both sides, is 1 inch. So I'm replacing it. I want you all to pay a detailed attention So the way I am keeping my ruler once I am taking my dart or replacing my dart, okay? So after that, now I'm just going ahead to add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches, as you can see right here. So when I'm also done with that, I'll connect these dots together. So for your neckline, for the back neckline, you can actually leave it straight or you can actually make it slightly curved. So for here, I'll just be coming down by half of an inch from that my shoulder line on that zip part here. Then I'll place my curve ruler in a slight curve like this, and from that part where my shoulder is, I'll connect it. Just, you can leave your straight, it is okay. If you want it deeper, it is still very much okay. Now from my waistline, I went up by 5 inches, and you can come down by 3 inches. So on the waistline, I marked half of an inch away from my zipper. Then watch how I will be connecting this together. So from that top part, now connect it to this half inch. Then instead of stopping it at that 3 inches, I decided to extend it all the way to my blouse length, because this is a blouse after all. So that's basically it. That is it for the back part of this particular top. I'll just go on ahead now to cut this out at the sides and also at the shoulder part as well. So the way I actually marked out this my zipper to avoid bulginess, that is the same way that I'll be going to be cutting out as well. So you can see all I have right here. So I basically go on ahead now to cut out from my sleeve. So for the sleeve, if you can remember vividly, we subtracted 6 inches from our neck. So I'll measure it out here so you guys understand. Forget about the extra allowance at on my fabric. This is the actual pattern paper, so you can see. If you minus 6 inches, this is what we have. So 6 inches is our neck depth. So 6 inches for the front neck depth and 6 inches for the back neck depth. When you add them together, is 12 inches. So that is the reason I marked 12 inches. I measured, sorry, 12 inches from the top parts of this line of my paper. So I'll now place the armhole of my dress from that 12 inches I have to get a perfect armhole. So after that, on the base of this my pattern paper, I measured my wrist. My wrist is 9 inches and I marked it right there. So I'm measuring this right on the camera so you can see it. And the length of this my pattern paper is 24 inches. So that's what I want to be making use of as the length of my sleeve. So this is an exaggerated on a, or a puff sleeve. I don't want to do slash and spread. So from that point, from my armhole, I connected this down into my wrist. Okay, so forget about the fact that this side of my paper is not complete. I will complete that on my fabric using my chalk. Okay, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. So I'm going to be getting my fabric now, and I'll be folding my fabric into 4 so that I can cut out for the both sleeves at once. So ensure your fabric is folded into 4. If you don't want to cut out with 2 at the same time, just go on ahead and fold it into 2. You fold it into 2 and cut this out the way it is. The sleeve is going to be very um exaggerated by the time you are done sewing. Okay, so I now placed this. It wasn't enough, I had to go on ahead to add more inches to my fabric. So when I did this, it was okay. I now went on ahead now to cut out. The only place I added extra allowance is the top part. So you can see I'm trying to reconnect the sides as well. So at the top part, I left about 3/4 of an inch. For the sides, I didn't add any extra allowance. For the base, I didn't add any extra allowance because the base I already have extra 1 inch for sewing, while my actual sleeve length is 23 inches, 1 inch for sewing. So this is all I have. I've gone ahead to transfer my pattern paper to my fabric, as you all can see right here. So we are going to start sewing, but that is going to be in the second part of the tutorial. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Have a lovely time ahead of you. Bye.